Hi, Jason.
Hey, Michelle.
I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you so much for joining me today on Michelle's Conversations That Matter.
Thanks so much for having me. It's a huge honor.
Awesome, awesome. I'm so excited that I was introduced to you through a mutual friend. And today we're going to talk about stepping off the self-loathing treadmill, which
Yes.
I think a lot of people are going to be able to relate to, Jason. You're not the only one, I think, that has been on that treadmill. So I'm really excited to share you with my audience today and hear your story, and I'm grateful for your time. So, a little bit about this series for people who maybe have never caught my episodes. This is Michelle's Conversations That Matter, and I'm really out to elevate the conversation around mental health and well-being and inspire people with different stories from folks, average people like you and I. And then I also host clinicians who help us better understand mental health and mental illnesses so we can elevate our knowledge around mental illness. And what I do professionally is I get to work with organizations to help recenter their employees. I have resilience programs that I have been delivering to my clients all the pandemic long, and it's been a wonderful journey. So that's a little bit about me. I would love for you, Jason, have the audience know who you are, where you live, what you do for a living. I want them to know how awesome you are. So can you introduce yourself?
Of course. So, so, let me start by saying that there's so many things in life we could look back on and say, oh, it should have gone this way. If only it went that way. Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, for instance, the year 2020, we could we could talk for hours about how life would have been better if 2020 hadn't happened, how our lives would have, how our businesses would have blossomed, and on and on. And I realized now that I spent a lot of time thinking that my life should have started off differently.
Yeah.
When I was born, I was excited to get into the world. Yay! Yay! And so I had this idea of Michelle of coming a few weeks early and surprising my folks in the middle of the night. Surprise! But unfortunately for all of us, they were sleeping because that's what people do in the middle of the night. Luckily, they got us to the emergency room in time, but in the process, my umbilical cord got kinked like a garden hose and I lost some oxygen. When I was a little kid, I was fine with that, but as I got into later grade school, I'm like, things should have been different. I should be different, and I was on this exhausting just so in my mind. I I like to equate it to like being in somewhere in Kansas and wanting to get to New York City. We can just hang out in Kansas thinking I should be in New York City by now. I shouldn't have gotten a flat tire in Arizona. And we can just think and think about things without driving the next mile at all.
Right.
And I spent a lot of my life doing that. But in the last 10 years, I've gotten back on the road, and now I mean literally on the road, except for 2020.
Yeah.
Now I speak to audiences across the country I'm moving from spinning the wheels
Yeah.
with thinking of how life should be or how they hope life is, and getting on the road towards the goals and the dreams. And last part of this, I lived in San Diego for a decade, but I moved home in 2020, which is South Dakota, and I'm glad to be home.
Amazing. Tell us about what it was like to be on that self-loathing treadmill for so long.
I wish I could say, Michelle, that it was outrageously fun and liberating and empowering, but it was not. It felt like I would think of all these great ideas
Mhm.
and all these hopes, but then not be able to when it came to action, I just was not able to move ahead, and then when I did act, the self-loathing treadmill is equally vicious because I just kept telling myself, "You're not doing it right. You should have done it perfectly. It's not acceptable," and I became my own drill sergeant, and a self-loathing treadmill is bad enough, but then when you have a drill sergeant that is yourself yelling continuously in your ear that you're not doing it right, it makes it much
Right,
worse.
right. Now, you shared with me, Jason, when we met initially, that yoga played a really important role in your life. What did you realize through your yoga practice?
I realize that there are methods to consistently move forward. In a yoga class, instead of going to a yoga class and sitting around talking about the yoga we should have done 5 years ago, or hoping that we do some great yoga someday, we go into class and instantly um do the centering and instantly move from pose to pose. It's like you hear the teacher, you think the thought, you move. You hear the teacher, you think the thought, you move, and that was just so different than my usual pattern of before, analyzing, getting ready to move, but then analyzing again.
Yeah, yeah. I can relate. I think a lot of us can relate to overthinking,
Mm.
pontificating, and not getting into action, you know.
It's such a, you just start feeling so stuck, and then
Yeah.
the more you do it, the more stuck. It's like spinning your wheels in mud. The more you do it, the more mud you spin up, and the more stuck you get.
hmm So let's talk a little bit about ego. We talked a little bit about that when we were getting ready for this conversation. I want to know sort of, how do you define ego? And I ask this because it seems like we can have a negative connotation to that word, and a positive or a neutral one is sort of like always dependent on context. So what is your take on the ego?
I define egos as something as natural as a breath, just something that's always going to be part of us. So why not love the ego? But at the same time, the ego is like, the ego needs some guidance. if it's going to go towards the good, the kind, and the protective. So we can love our ego, and at the same time guide it in the way we want to go in life. So it's not always running the show and taking us off in directions that have no relevance to where we want to go in life.
Yeah, I love that. I've never heard the ego described as loving it and controlling it a little bit and not just having it be something negative. Really interesting to me to hear your take on it.
I mean, this, Michelle, I'm a war veteran telling you this because I spent a lot of years just going to war with my ego, and the ego, guess what? It fought back. It did not like that, and I wish I could say I won that war, but but it was bloody, and I did not win that war. So
Jason, how do you see yourself helping people? I know you were saying that when the pandemic hit, you sort of, the brakes were put on what you were doing. What is your big dream for the future with trying to help and inspire and motivate people?
My big dream is to do a mix of virtual trainings and presentations and live training and presentations. And I'm so excited to do live presentations again. One, because having an audience and getting the energy and having them help evolve what you're saying is just so this is just so magical. And two, I figured out in the last year that before I knew I loved taking pictures of places, but now I know I deeply love it. So one of my dreams is to go to a town, say Cincinnati, for a speaking engagement and go early and take beautiful pictures of the city and then incorporate those pictures into the PowerPoint. So as I'm speaking about seeing the lives in a new way, they can see the beautiful city and maybe a way they haven't seen it for a while because it's become common and they've taken it for granted.
I love that. I love that. Now, what we didn't tell the world is that you're an author. So tell us about your book and why you wrote it and what you're out to accomplish with it.
My book was strategically placed back here. Is called Awkwardly Awesome: Embracing My Imperfect Best.
Nice.
And I wrote it because I wanted people to have a story, a story combined with practical tools. So often I feel when I listen to a speaker that they start off with their life being a struggle, and then at a sudden turning point, transformation point, their life becomes utterly brilliant and amazing, and they become super productive, which is all great, except I realized that my life never seemed that way. It seemed like instead, like I could continually move forward a little bit, but then like past habits would come up and I would have to deal with that, but then I could move forward a little bit more. And so So I want to tell people probably that they don't have to look for a huge transformational epiphany moment to know that they're living their lives right.
Right.
If they just move ahead a little and a little more as they can in the direction they want to go. That's important because we can take steps. Taking steps is good, but if we take them in the opposite direction as we want to go,
Yeah.
it's not going to lead us where we want to go.
I love that. I love that. I think about how hard the past year has been for so many people,
Mm.
whether it's the loss of loved ones, the loss of a job, the loss of routine. There's a lot of loss, and it's so easy to focus on all of that. And I can't believe I've gone through this. And then you get a little depressed, even. How do you tell someone? What would you tell someone who's still on the self-loathing treadmill? Move forward, do something different, take an action. What would you tell them?
First of all, I would say that that the self-loathing treadmill is such a natural place to be in life.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a my dad's a neurologist, but I'm not a neuropsychologist or anything. So I have no idea why the mind often defaults to taking us to the treadmill, but no, first of all, it's natural. Secondly, and very challengingly, it's to notice when you're on it, because the mind's going to play a lot of tricks and say, oh, you're doing endless research on why things didn't go right 5 years ago. That's so scholarly. That's so intellectual. Just keep going with that. Keep asking more people their opinions on why things didn't go well 5 years ago. You're getting the group involved, but so the mind can trick us into staying on the treadmill, and it can look super like we're doing the super way thing and it can feel productive doing all the thinking.
Right.
But to like really differentiate is basically what I'm doing, saying life should have been this way, or I hope life should be this way,
Right.
or and instead figure out where I want to go, figure out the direction, my big dream,
Yeah.
figure out the direction, and then figure out not a sequence of steps towards it, and then take the very next step. Taking the very next step is still transformative, but take the next step
Yeah.
aligned with where you want to go.
You say that the concept of imperfect best sounds like a hopeless contradiction. Yet, so many of us are in our own way. Talk to us a little bit about that.
So imperfect best is a hopeless contradiction if we're constantly trying to eliminate the imperfect from our life and have only 100% best. That's just a treadmill. That's exhausting, and it's not going to happen. But if we think of the imperfect going from left to right, when the imperfect comes up, it can always move us towards a best. So when the imperfect comes up, we can notice it and go, hey, what can I learn from this?
Yeah.
What hidden opportunities might be in this? How can this move me towards my best?
Right.
Because we so often get stuck in berating ourselves for the imperfect, or
Right.
trying to prevent the imperfect so much that we don't take action and move towards our best.
Right. What is your greatest learning, Jason, navigating with your speech impediment?
What is my greatest learning navigating with my speech impediment? I don't know if I've ever been asked exactly that, and it's a brilliant question. My greatest learning, and if you had told me this 20 years ago when I was in the thick of self-loathing, I would have said, hey, you're just telling me pie in the sky crap.
Yeah.
But my greatest learning is that any limit, no matter how mild we are in using it as a limit, no matter how devastating it seems,
Mm-hmm.
even though those feelings are so real and so valid and so painful,
Right.
any limit can be turned into a gift.
Nice.
I mean, I'm not saying, voila, this limit I hate can be magically transformed into a brilliant life. But we can go on a journey
Yeah.
of turning a limit into a gift. And it might be a long, arduous journey,
Right.
but it can happen. We are not stuck. We are not stuck in any version of limitation we think we're in now. That can eventually change into something else. It's not always easy, but it can change.
Yeah. It's all in how we look at it. It really, really is. You're speaking to something so important. Our perspective is our reality. And if we can shift our perspective to see a limit as an opportunity, and therein lies the power. We reclaim our power in that. It's amazing. I love it.
And seeing it as an opportunity is part of it, but
Right.
then acting as though this it is an opportunity is another part. Like quick example, when I was mired and thinking my voice was a limit, I mean, no way would I get on a podcast and be able to talk comfortably
Mm-hmm.
at all because I not only had that perspective, but I was acting as though it was a limit, so I wasn't talking much.
Yeah.
And when I didn't use my voice much, guess what happened? When I did try and speak, it didn't work out that well because I wasn't practicing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I love that. There's a book. I don't know if you've heard of this book called Loving What Is by Byron Katie. Have you heard of
Oh
this?
yeah. The work, yeah.
It's so
Byron Katie. Shout out to Byron Katie.
seriously, like I love that book because she speaks to exactly what you're saying. When we disagree with our reality, we are in resistance to what is present, what we're dealing with, right? If we resist something that is reality, we create our own upset. So that's exactly what you're saying. You're like, I was on the self-loathing treadmill, complete disagreement with reality,
Complete disagreement.
right? And you were creating that upset until you realized, why am I disagreeing with this? Why not look for the opportunity in it? And it's so much easier said than done. I've been there. I've been there and I'm like, no, I am not going to accept this, but I'm creating my own upset in resistance. So
I want to echo what you said. It's so much easier said than done.
Yes.
As we talk about the stuff, we're not saying, "Wow,
Yeah.
just get done watching this and walk out and think new thoughts and take a few new actions and voila, you'll be transformed." I
Yes.
wish, but
Yeah, I love it. So what are you up to? We have your website on the bottom of the screen here, jasonwfreeman.com. What are you up to? How do people get in touch with you? Just the website? What are you looking to do? More inspirational speaking?
yeah. If you're listening to this as a you're in a company, an organization, and you realize that people are getting stuck playing their own mind games, or that company meetings seem like one big mind game with everyone just going around in circles. You might want to have me in to help people acknowledge that what they're doing is natural, but that it might not be getting them or their coworkers where they want to go. That everyone might be
Yeah.
doing their best, but driving each other a little bonkers in the process. So go to my website for that. I also love to speak to students and teachers. And on my website, there is actually a free downloadable interactive copy of Awkwardly Awesome. It helps, and so be sure to check that out. And also, there's a newsletter test drive. A
Okay.
newsletter test drive, so you don't have to sign up for the newsletter until you're sure you want to do it. But I urge you to do it because the newsletter is just so fun. We have fun making it, and I hope you'll have fun reading it.
So we have Eric here, and Eric just dropped in, and he just wanted you to know that he thinks that you're brave.
Thanks, Ed Bass.
Awesome. Well, I am so grateful and so honored that you took the time today to join me, Jason. I love what you're up to. I agree with Eric. You are one brave, courageous man out there sharing your wisdom with people, having us really understand what's possible. And I just thank you for joining me and for all the work you're doing. And I'm honored to have met you.
I'm honored to have met you too, and your show and your mission is so important. Thanks for doing all you do, Michelle.
Thank you, Jason. All right, I'm going to let you go. Have a great rest of your day, and thank you again.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye. You